All right, welcome to Money Chat Now. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse, and today is October 7th, 2021, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. And just a reminder, if you like the show, hit that share button, hit that like button. Hey, listen, hit the share button. Hit the share button on your page right now. Let people know you're watching the show. Let people enjoy the show as much as you are. Hit that like button, of course, so I know you are really enjoying the show. And you also can comment live during the show on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter. So feel free to comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Money Chat Now page on Facebook. All right, did I give you a bunch of stuff to do? Just go do it. Come on, this isn't the government telling you to do it. This is Larry Steinhouse telling you to do it. This is easy. Money Chat Now is brought to you by Investor Schooling, and you can attend a complimentary class tonight, Thursday, by going to investorschooling.com. You'll also be able to learn about real estate investing, stock options trading, and you'll learn from those who do it every day. All right, on today's show, we'll be talking about the market update and how it went up, and it's fine. We're going to talk about this debt ceiling agreement and why the market will tank. We're also going to be talking about kids' vaccines. We're going to be talking about healthcare cost increase, and we're going to be talking about the airline vaccine mandate. Notice anything in common today? It's going to be the vaccine show for sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about the stock market and what happened today. So the stock market took off, man. It was like, wow, this is awesome. The market was up something like 550 points at one point and finished up almost 338 points, which is also pretty good, of course. But of course, my stocks got battered. I didn't understand that one. Everything that I was in today got battered, and I didn't get it. The S&P was up 36 points, and the NASDAQ up 152 points. All good stuff. So, hey, maybe tomorrow will be another good day. And let's talk about why and what happened. And mostly why and what happened is, of course, because of the debt ceiling. So let's talk about what happened and the debt ceiling. First of all, well, let's talk about the whole thing. Let's talk about why I think the market's going to crash and why the debt ceiling has everything to do with it. All right. If you've been watching, you heard me report that the debt ceiling agreement had been coming to an end. As I predicted it would be, it'd be a no-brainer because it was pretty obvious that it was going to happen. I wanted to take a minute to discuss the debt ceiling issue and why it isn't what you think it is, because most of you think that it's something else. Many of you watching this or have any knowledge of the debt ceiling think it's a new spending the Democrats are trying to sneak into the budget. Some of you are also confusing this with the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill by the math-challenged Democrats. This is not the same thing. As you know, that the infrastructure bill contains things that have nothing to do with the infrastructure, but understand that raising the debt ceiling will not be new for spending. Well, it's basically not for new spending. So this is for spending that was already promised by our senators and congressmen for many decisions that were made last year. This money is also going to be used to pay for benefits and salaries promised to our government workers as well as our servicemen. Understand, this money has already been promised and it's already been spent. And it's something like, imagine this scenario, let's say you put in an addition on your house and that addition costs $75,000. You apply for a home equity loan and the bank assures you that you will be getting it. Because of this, you hire the contractor and start working on the home without even paying him yet. Next week, you have the first payment of $25,000 due as a promise to him. Meanwhile, he's cutting a big gaping hole in your roof to make this addition. His plans are to buy more material with the payment that you promised him, but now the bank is giving you trouble and saying they may not be able to fulfill the promise of this loan. So, what's going to happen is next week, if you don't pay the contractor, he's going to walk off the job and not close up the 12-foot hole in your roof. You need this loan and you need it next week. This is the exact problem. Promises to pay were made and the United States government needs to pay up. Yeah, we know that many of the spending problems are the math-challenged Democrats, and of course giving people an extra $600 a week to stay home was dumb, but we're still obligated to pay for it. So as the Republicans argue, you Democrats made this mess, now solve it, they really have no choice but to agree. Political theater is basically the action here, and as they try giving the math-challenged Democrats a hard time, and they were also making themselves look good in front of the voting base, and that's why they have to give in. So why not do it now? If you remember, I reported yesterday that Mitch McConnell agreed to vote on extending the problem, kicking the can down the road to mid-December. I also state that this was a brilliant move because he makes himself the hero. Some people bashed him, but I knew exactly what this was about. This was about making him the hero, and he did it. So let's talk about how the stock market is going to be affected by all of this. I've been telling you all along to buy into earnings period and sell before the earnings announcement. So if you're going to buy anything, buy into the earnings period and sell before the earnings announcement. My prediction is pretty obvious that the market will start a downturn after the end of this earnings season, and that's going to be about mid-November. I've concluded this because of the following reasons. First of all, the market is definitely too high. There's no doubt it's too high. Second, earnings season is the last great catalyst to drive the market until after the New Year earnings season in January. So the next earnings season will be in January. Third, the exception would have been retail sales report around Christmas, but with all the shipping and manufacturing issues, it'll probably be a dim season, again, causing retailers not to make money. Last and probably the biggest issue will be that we will catch up to the can that we kicked down the road. So this basically, the nonsense with the debt ceiling will return to us in the beginning of December. The market is going to tank by the end of the year, and I'm going to tell you, puts or cash is the play. If you want to start playing, if you want to start getting into it, start going after November, start going into puts or get into cash, because it's going to be a bad end of year for this market, and you don't want to be stuck in it. Okay. So let's see what else we want to talk about. Let's talk about the vaccines. Oh, yeah. The vaccines for kids. So Pfizer said Thursday it asked the Food and Drug Administration to authorize its COVID-19 vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11. According to an article on CNBC, the news couldn't come any sooner for parents anxious to get their children vaccinated as kids start the new school year with the the Democrat variant surging across America. Wow, these parents, they're so scared that their kids are gonna get COVID. It's so bad. So I'm gonna tell you, this mask and vaccine for kids crap is really starting to piss me off if you haven't already guessed it. Why are we still sending kids to public schools wearing masks, but we can fill an entire stadium of people watching a sporting event without masks? Besides the fact that masks are totally useless, we need to stop allowing the Democrats to punish our children. It's the same with the vaccine situation. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not anti-vaccine. I am, however, anti-mandatory vaccine. Now you have Pfizer and Moderna leading the research on the vaccine and its effectiveness. Does anybody but me see a problem with this? Hey, did you ever play golf? It's like the guy who swings his club, misses the ball, and says, hey, that was a practice swing. It's almost as dumb as trusting Americans to complete their own tax returns. As for me, I don't play golf. I don't play golf anymore because most people who played me for money got mad at me. Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who sits on Pfizer's board and served as FDA commissioner for 2 years, told CNBC last week that the shots for young kids could come by Halloween. 4. All right, let's take a break so I can recompose myself.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start? Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from 2 Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhouse, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse, and so far we've been discussing this weird market that everything that I bought went down while the market went up. We also talked about the obvious debt ceiling agreement and the fact that they're kicking the can down the road to December. And we also talked about why that's going to tank the market in December, and I think you should definitely play that into December. We talked about mandatory kid vaccines coming up, and how the wonderful pharmaceutical companies are in charge of the research. It just fascinates me. All right, let's talk a little bit about healthcare cost increases, how the airline vaccine has a mandate, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of my stock picks and what's going on in the world. All right. A third of working Americans saw their healthcare costs rise this year, according to a survey published Thursday by the Employee Benefit Research Institute. First of all, the fact that there's an Employee Benefit Research Institute, that fascinates me too. That must be federally that must be federally funded by the Democrats. The survey, however, didn't identify which specific costs, such as insurance premiums or out-of-pocket expenses, were the increase for workers. Clearly, this was a survey that produced a great headline. If the insurance costs were a problem, the right would have blamed Obamacare, and if it was an out-of-pocket side, the left would have blamed the Republicans for not giving the poor better health care cheaper. I am definitely getting cynical here as I see through the political moves of this once great country. Hey everyone, Obamacare makes the insurance part very inexpensive, and Medicare covers those, or Medicaid covers those with no money or health care. Want to know what caused so much expense this year? You're gonna agree. It was COVID testing. Think about it. If you sneezed this year or had a sore throat or around someone who did, you probably went out and got a COVID test. Did you think that test was going to be free? Either you paid for it or your insurance paid for it. And if you paid for it, it costs about $150 for the rapid test. And if your insurance paid for it, be sure that next year they're going to raise the rates to cover the useless test. Want to know the best way not to get COVID? Don't get tested! When the COVID nonsense finally ends, we're all going to be stuck with the wave of financial mess that this plague will last longer than the virus actually was around. Speaking of plagues, there is an airline vaccine mandate now. As you already know, the Supreme Leader Biden has directed and ordered, with his Supreme Leader mandate ability, that any employer with 100 or more employees must get vaccinated, except of course for the politicians in Washington, but that's another story. Also, as government contractors, of all employees of a company of any size must also be vaccinated to do business with the government. Because of this, American Airlines, Alaska Airlines, and JetBlue Airways told their employees that their work as government contractors means they must be vaccinated against COVID-19 as early as December 18th under the new Supreme Leader's fascist rules. First of all, they have 100 people or more anyway, so I don't understand why they had to tell them that because they're contractors. I guess, these people who run these companies, the CEOs and the upper management, they're stuck. I mean, their backs against the wall because you got an idiot like Biden in the White House telling these people that they have to tell their employees to get vaccinated. And they're coming up with reasons. Hey, listen, it's not my fault, it's the government's fault. We're a government contractor. Major airlines say they will fall into the federal contractor category because they transport government employees and provide other services like the emergency flights that helped bring Afghanistan evacuees to the U.S. this summer. Apparently, the good people helping with the patriotic evacuation of Americans in Afghanistan are now going to be treated like the hero healthcare workers that worked through the pandemic in hospitals. They're all going to be fired and not able to collect unemployment because they wouldn't let someone else take control of their bodies and what enters it. This is just intolerable. Somehow, this show became all about the vaccine today, the Democrat variant, and the Supreme Leader's dictatorship. And you want to know why? Because that's all in the news. That's anything that's in the news today. In fact, the President Braindead is talking about it right now. Basically, nothing important is happening in the world, so we must discuss it and we must keep COVID alive so that you, the audience, will keep watching and keep fearing the dreaded virus. Once again, I got to go compose myself, so we're taking a break, and I will tell you about my stock plays of the day. Investor schooling needs a new slogan.
Investor schooling? Never heard of.
Investor schooling?
Never heard of.
Investor schooling? Never heard of them.
Any suggestions? Phil?
Investor schooling. We never heard of you either.
Investor Schooling. We never heard of you either. Register for a free class at investorschooling.com.
Investor schooling. Those guys are everywhere.
Investor schooling?
Those guys are everywhere.
Investor schooling?
Those guys are everywhere.
Investor Schooling. Those guys are everywhere. Register for a free class at investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse. And so far, we've been talking about the market update and the fact that, look, the Dow closed up about 338 points, the S&P up about 36 points, and the NASDAQ up about 152 points for a pretty nice day, except for me, because everything I had went down. We also talked about the debt ceiling agreement and how obvious that was going to be, and the fact that Mitch McConnell played the hero by saying, hey, we'll extend it and we'll kick the can down the road to the middle of December. And we also talked about why that is going to cause the market to tank in December. And if you were watching, you need to know that that's why the market will tank in December. We also talked about the fact that the vaccines are going to be available for kids. And you also know, I mean, we talked about Governor Newsom last week in California, who said he's going to mandate kid vaccines. And of course, that's going to come in every Democrat county soon. So prepare yourself for it. It's coming. We also talked about the fact that healthcare costs increase, and it most likely increased because of COVID vaccine, COVID testing. Whatever. We also talked about the fact that airline vaccines are going to be mandated, so every employee for an airline is going to have a vaccine. That does mean, of course, you do realize that the next headline is going to be that you and I must have a vaccine in order to fly, because the only place you can get COVID nowadays is obviously on an airplane or in a school. Those are the only two places, because the only two places that masks are still mandatory are in schools and airlines. All right, let's talk a little bit about what's going on. It was another one of those days that the market went up, but my core stocks went down. Facebook was actually up 3 points earlier, but closed down more than 4 points down. What the heck? I'm trying to figure out why, but I think it was just profit taking from the last few days. And I kind of was surprised because the Facebook files kind of wound down, and the whole news and the whole garbage. Unless there was something I missed on Facebook, I don't understand why it went down. Now, there are political reasons to not own Facebook. I don't want to own Facebook because, they're evil and they're mean. So that might be it too. That kind of affected them a couple of years ago. Let's see if it affects them now, but I still think they're as we starting to go in earnings, Facebook will definitely pop up. Apple was up most of the day, and it finished, it finished pretty close to the high actually today. It finished, let's see where it was. It finished up about $1.29, so that's not bad either. Robinhood pushed up, but it kind of couldn't maintain the couldn't maintain the rise, and finished close to its opening mark. Gold and silver, I'm telling you right now, these guys are disappointing me, as gold is around $17.50 and silver is still hovering around 22.5. I don't get it, but whatever. Bitcoin pulled back as Ethereum rose a bit, and of course my new favorite Shiba is resting at about 25 millionth of a cent, and that it was as high as 33 millionths of a cent, and it's been as high ever as about 39 millionth of a cent. So I'm curious to see if this will break through that 39 millionth of a cent. That would be a really nice breakthrough, and of course I'm waiting for a penny. Come on, a penny! Come on! If you reach a penny, I make $2.75 million. Come on, man, that'd be awesome. This is the greatest lottery ticket I ever played. As you know, the airline and cruise stocks fell today, but I kind of think they're still a play into the spring. So if you want to grab them tomorrow, I also think kind of few stocks today, probably will kind of slow down a little bit, and maybe there'll be a little more chop. But we've been generating some great tips on this show. A lot of people have been saying they've been watching the show, and they've been taking some of the tips, and they've been making some money. So I suggest you watch the show every day. With that, I want to thank you for watching Money Chat Now. Hey, did you hit that share button yet? Come on, hit the share button. Share the gold, man. Hit the like button. Let me know you enjoy the show. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Money Chat Now page on Facebook. From time to time, I own some of the assets and options discussed in this show. The opinions discussed in this show are solely mine, and no one has asked me to discuss them. Really, no one has, but I'm kind of thinking that there's several people who should. Thank you for watching Money Chat Now. As we look forward to your continued support, we will see you tomorrow and every day at 4:03 p.m. Take care. Take care.